If you want to be an expat, if you want to be a global investor, if you want to think beyond the United States, it's just becoming a less interesting place to be. And so now Elizabeth Warren is saying, let's have a wealth tax. She came out with a proposal that said, if you have $50 million or more, we're going to start dinging you a couple percent every year. If you have $1 billion or more, we're going to add an extra 1% to that. And we're going to have an annual wealth tax where we say, pay us a percentage of the money you have. It doesn't matter how much money you earn. It doesn't matter how much, what's happening with that money. You have money and we're going to take it. They'd love to take your money because they're angry. They're angry that you've accomplished something. They're angry that you built a business, angry that you sold a business, angry that you became successful as an investor, and they want theirs. They see the fact that the world has become more competitive, that people like me can go and hire higher quality workers in a country like Serbia for a lower price than what I pay for entitled US citizens. And they don't like that. They say, how dare Andrew profits off of moving his workforce overseas? How come Andrew gets to live overseas and not pay into our system? We need his money, and they need your money too. And so now Elizabeth Warren is coming in to help them. It's so scary hearing about a wealth tax. Again, something that's failed. Something that has been abandoned by countries in Europe, which you would hardly call libertarian, bastions of economic freedom. They have realized this doesn't work. And the mere fact that it's being proposed in a country like the United States, and I'm hearing, whispers of it in Canada as well, it speaks to the fact of what I always talk about. It speaks to the culture. Europe got over it. Oh, some people are wealthy? All right, fine. They're paying income taxes, whatever. In the United States, in the English-speaking countries, there is such a cultural hatred now for the millionaires and billionaires that they have no choice on the left but to come after you. Now, this is not a Republicans versus Democrats issue. I don't live in the U.S. I really have no ties to the U.S. This does not affect me, so I'm not personally upset about it. But it does concern me about the direction the country is going. And I think it should concern you because, it's the camel's nose under the tent. Once they say $50 million and 1%, before you know it, it's 20, and then it's 10. And eventually it becomes like the alternative minimum tax, when how many millions of people were ensnared into that? Oh, and it becomes like the income tax, which started at 3%. Let's pay off some debts. Wasn't it from the war? Our income tax is still 3%. Now, are you going to have a 40% annual wealth tax? Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. But certainly, you could bring more people into the tent of a wealth tax, and the rates could go up, because the cultural issue is the politicians and the people support it. Movement of the country is going in that direction. Assembly Bill 71 is something that we are just learning some of the initial details about. It has been cobbled together by a couple folks in the California Assembly, and its goal is to basically go back and pick up the pieces of the failed wealth tax bill that California tried to roll out in 2020. Now, you may realize that California proposed in vain recently to roll out a first-of-its-kind state wealth tax, which would tax on an annual basis the wealth, something that's inherently hard to quantify, of certain millionaires and multimillionaires and billionaires living in the state, and force them to pay that to California's government to make up for all of their sheer incompetence in running the state. And what it also would have done, in a historic move, would be go back up to 10 years and look at people who left the state of California and basically tax retroactively people who did leave or had already left California. And when I talked to Robert Kiyosaki on his Rich Dad radio show, I said wealth tax and I said retroactive taxes are two things you're going to see more of in the U.S. and other Western countries. The U.S. has already set the precedent in 2017 of applying retroactive taxes. And so why not do it again? You're going to see more taxes on wealth, and California tried that. Now, they didn't come close enough, so that was, I suppose, a positive sign. But now they're coming back at it again. I'm talking a lot lately about millionaire taxes and wealth taxes because we're seeing, when we read the tax publications, when we read stuff from think tanks that have the ear of politicians, all the stuff that we read in our line of business, the dry, boring, not so glamorous tax stuff, is Western countries are coming after wealth, and they have lots of good reasons now. They have a pandemic that they didn't prepare for and they need to pay for. They have things like homelessness to pay for. They've got a lot of good reasons they've been stacking up. And now with people angrier than ever that Thanks to government actions, they've lost their jobs, which is very sad. Guys like Elon Musk are becoming wealthier. Some of his employees who own Tesla stock have also become much wealthier, but set that aside. The real issue is we just hate wealth. And it's an easy group to pick on. Politicians want to stay in power, and when 75% of people approve the idea of taxing millionaires, what we're really seeing right now is in Canada, the UK, a lot of Western countries, even New Zealand, I'm hearing people talking about it, is a wealth tax. And you have the perfect reason. You have a pandemic that governments have spent like crazy for. And you might say, well, that's a good thing. Well, but they normally spend like crazy. So this was just the latest thing they spent like crazy on. It's a great, convenient excuse. I'm not talking about COVID. I'm not talking about the pandemic. But I'm simply saying the government went out, as they always do. They spent a lot of money. And now they want to levy a new tax to, quote unquote, pay for it. So here are the shocking numbers. I'm going to go through them with you because you might be thinking, as some people said when I talked about this citizenship-based taxation, this is just one guy in Parliament talking about it. He's some low-level kook. Well, here are the numbers. They did a poll of Canadians. 75% of Canadians support, 44% of them strongly, some kind of wealth tax. When the numbers presented were that anyone who has $20 million, Canadian dollars, mind you, 20 million Canadian dollars or more, should pay a wealth tax of 1 to 2%, potentially every year. From day one of Nomad Capitalist, for nearly a decade, I've been telling you this was the direction that the West is going. And every year I hear from more people who said, I never thought I would be talking to you about the things that we're talking about because things have gotten so bad. The hatred towards wealth has gotten so bad in the United States, in Canada, and in so many other places, to where 75% of people now want to, or they're in favor of having a wealth tax. It starts at 20 million Canadian dollars. Now, one of the things that I've seen particularly in other countries like the UK, where this has been very widely discussed, is this is going to impact people like farmers who have very illiquid dirt that they will now have to pay this wealth tax on because pretty much everything counts for these wealth taxes that I'm seeing proposed. They're going to go through and start valuing your jewelry, valuing your artwork, valuing your cars, your home, your personal residence, your rental properties, your farm, your business, who knows? And so it gets into a game, and we talk to people about this who are leaving the United States, for example. They're divorcing the US, and they have to figure out what is my net worth, or when they're leaving a country for tax residence, and what is my net worth? What do I have to pay before I can get out of this tax net? Anyone who's getting wealthy when we're not should be punished. That's what's happening in the West. And when I look at countries like Malaysia, where they've come out, 2 different people now and have said, we're not going to have a wealth tax. They used to, they got rid of it, and now they're saying we're not going to bring it back. I look at countries in the West, and they're bringing in all kinds of new taxes to pay for their stupidity. You're going to be the one to pay, and I look at the places where I spend time and say, I think I made a very good choice. I'm comfortable with it. And the headline is, Argentina's Congress approved a wealth tax that will impose a one-off levy on people with large personal fortunes as the government of the indebted nation tries to boost revenue hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, whatever your opinion is on the pandemic, we could have all predicted that it will become, for years to come, the excuse that governments will use to implement all the taxes that they've wanted to implement. Do not be fooled. They have been thinking about wealth taxes. They have been thinking about UBI. They have been thinking about higher estate taxes or introducing one if your country doesn't have one. They've been thinking about millionaire taxes. They've been looking at all the different ways that if you have created jobs and created value and created something that people love, that you need to pay more. Let's continue with the article that talks about this new tax, because what exactly is involved? I'll tell you. The legislation, the wealth tax legislation, stipulates a one-off tax of at least 2%. I like that, at least 2% on individuals with assets of more than 200 million pesos. 200 million pesos as of the time of writing, and amazingly, a couple days later, as of the time of me reading it, is the equivalent of 2.45 million US dollars. The government aims to collect about $3.7 billion through the tax. I always love that part the most, as if it's just, it's like when the military neutralizes an asset, they just say, target neutralized. That's how they say a guy died. We're going to collect $3.7 billion that was stolen from you. For me, living in a tax-friendly state is a very small step. Certainly, I can tell you from even those 6 months of experience with California, with the FTB, they are the most aggressive tax collection agency on planet Earth. We work with taxes all over the world all the time. They are the worst. They don't even play by the rules some of the time. So I would get out of there. But while you're moving, while you're going from California to Nevada, which may be better, ask yourself what will be best, and then start to put that into perspective. Start to put that plan into action. We've got over 1,000 videos, almost 2,000 blog articles at nomadcapitalist.com explaining the strategies that we talk about to illegally reduce your taxes, increase your freedom, have a better quality of life, living somewhere else that's not just better because you're not saving the California taxes. U.S. taxes are going to go up too. You'll see what happens at the U.S. federal level. There may just want to come a time when you'd rather be living under the tax laws of the Bahamas or of Singapore or of Ireland because they treat you the best for what you need to do. So for me, moving out of California would be a temporary step. Take the money you save from that, set it aside, invest in it as an insurance policy to make sure that your wealth and your income continues to be treated well in the years to come as taxes in places like California go up. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.